Hello, my name is Christina. This is, we're doing an interview for the Living Archives Charlotte project, a 3-year project with the Levine Museum and the New South Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, Center for Documentary Studies at Duke and Johnson C. Smith University. And I'm so happy to have you here today. Would you like to share your full name or pseudonym for this project?
I'm Nichelle Bonaparte.
Okay.
I'm Brandon Hawkins.
Thank you. And what city and state do you reside?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. And what is your zip code?
28216.
Okay. And were you both born in Charlotte, North Carolina?
No, I was born in Manning, South Carolina. That's the closest hospital. I'm from Somerton, South Carolina.
Okay.
And I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Dallas. Wow. Okay. And what are the most important things that you know about the coronavirus?
Most important thing, other than the fact that it sent us into a global pandemic, that it is contagious, is spread various ways, that it has impacted people with a lot of pre-existing conditions. It impacts all of us, but it has had a more seemingly detrimental impact on those with pre-existing or underlying conditions.
I mean, I guess for me, it's deadly. It spreads very quickly and easily, and there's a vaccine for it. And I think those 3 things together kind of sum up how I feel about the whole thing.
What effect has the crisis had on your friendships or relationships?
It's been, you want to start?
All right, go ahead.
I would say for me, it's been eye-opening in many ways, particularly with my relationships with family members, extended family members, learning about not only like their positions towards medical advances in science, but it's also, I believe, brought my immediate family has brought us a lot closer, because although initially we could not be together physically, we found other means of video chatting. And it seems like we are in almost constant communication, which I think has improved our relationships.
Honestly, I feel like during the pandemic, after the initial rush of checking on everyone and, making sure everyone's okay, and then you kind of settle down into this monotony. And I feel like there were some relationships that kind of withered for a while, until people kind of felt positive again. And that secondary layer of relationships that kind of blossomed back with some people. And I think it has to do with how people were feeling.
Thank you. Was there a time you stepped in to help someone impacted by COVID?
I think it was more so emotional support. More than anything, we had some really close friends that lost a parent very early a month after shutdown. And so we really didn't know what it was. It was still, it's not that we have it all figured out now, but it was so early on that just showing up for them and being supportive, being a listening ear. I mean, everyone is underrated how much people need someone to just hear them and listen to them and just checking in on them because they had all the resources that they needed. And so just being someone that was there to support them and help them through that extraordinary loss.
I mean, I would say my mother is she's a very social person. She likes to be out and about and doing things. And during the pandemic, she was at home a lot for a long time. And, I remember being there for her, just talking to her. Like, she was very down, how long is this going to last? And she was getting into a groove and she felt like she had a good routine and she was recently retired. And I just felt like being there for her was kind of where I was supposed to be at the time that it happened. So I think that was my contribution.
Can you describe your experience going out at the height of pandemic wearing the mask and gloves? How was that for you?
I'm going to defer to Brandon because he was considered essential, so he was out the entire time.
Yeah, so I manage a grocery store, so I never stopped going to work. They declared us essential and we kept going to work. I was there from the jump, from we had no protection equipment to, okay, we need to wear masks, to we have masks and gloves and we sanitize everything all these times a day and everything everybody else was doing. And it just became routine. And early on, it was very nerve-wracking. It was a lot of frustrating days, a lot of it was just a lot of uncertainty and everyone was down and people were angry at each other and people were divided. And it was just, it was a really, there was so much going on that everyone kind of had to make their own bubble of what was important to them and kind of get it done and get back to the house. And with me, it was, I wanted to go to work and I wanted to continue to earn my living. And I wanted to be as safe as possible. So I didn't bring anything back to anybody that I love.
Mm. Wow. So would you consider yourself an essential worker, Brandon?
I mean, I think you need grocery stores operating.
I think so too.
I would say so. It's hard, and it's I would say we're essential. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think I needed the groceries during the pandemic for sure. So yeah, my husband actually used to manage a grocery store in Virginia. So I know like that struggle, that's already a struggle. But then to think about adding the mask and gloves and the scare of, people bringing stuff in and you bringing things home, I can't imagine how stressful that was during that time. So, but thank you for sure. Have you been spending your time in new ways? And if so, could you describe together with family, friends, alone, any new hobbies?
So this is the uneventful answer. My life didn't change dramatically. A lot of the things that we ended up depending on during the pandemic, those are things that I was doing. I was already working from home for the majority of the time. I had already been getting my groceries delivered. I really didn't enjoy going into the grocery store. So I was doing those things. And for the most part, I stayed home during the week and occasionally would go visit friends nearby on the weekends. So my life didn't change that much. I will say, though, like I mentioned earlier, that there's an app that's now is going away as of next month, but there's an app called House Party that I introduced my parents to, and they are senior citizens. And we literally are on house party a couple of times a day. And during the height of the pandemic is when we discovered it and we started using it, and we still use it to this day until it goes away. So we spend a lot of time, video chatting.
I mean, I would have to tend to agree with most of what she said. It really didn't. I didn't operate any more or less different than I already did. I already was a pretty. I'm not one to just associate with a lot of people. So the pandemic fit my lifestyle. It kind of did at the time.
Yeah. I've heard people say that. Are there any, could you describe a fear or sorrow that you've had during this time?
Well, a huge fear for me was, of course, losing people near and dear. I don't know if everyone else feels this way, but I felt that early on, a lot of the baby boomers in my life, not all baby boomers, but the baby boomers in my life weren't really understanding how serious it was. And I mean, really early on. And so I had to have a sit down with my parents and explain to them how serious it was. And it wasn't until my friends lost their father that it, I think, got the attention of my parents. And from that point on, they, got on the right path. But I was certainly afraid of losing them. And then the monotony of, although the pandemic did fit my lifestyle, I wasn't able to hang out with my friends as much. And one of my favorite things to do is fellowship with my friends. While some people might enjoy, going to concerts over everything else, I enjoy all the things that most people do. But my number one thing, apart from spending time with Brandon, is spending time with my friends and family. So that was really tough for me.
With me is that a sorrow that I had was just for mankind in general. I looked at how a virus could come and be deadly and dangerous and endanger virtually everyone. And even back then, our most precious and dearly, our elderly and our infants. And, we all couldn't get on one accord and fight the virus. But we made it into something that it shouldn't have been. And we manipulated the issue, and a lot of people died. A lot of people died that should not have died, that did not have to die. And that's going to be a regret that this society will have.
Yeah. Thank you. What did you learn any lessons that you feel will impact you for the rest of your life? And if so, could you share those? Any big lessons?
I'll say that one thing that I have learned is that it really doesn't matter who you're related to or who you're not related to. The people that are going to be there for you will reveal themselves. You may have already known who they are, but when you need people and those people are consistently there for you, it doesn't matter if they're your family or not. That's your essential life family. These are the people that you depend on, interfamiliar help in a day-to-day life to just get through life. And that's more important than anything else.
I would say a big lesson that this entire experience has shown me is to strengthen my faith. because when things are going well, it's easy to say certain things. It's easy to say you believe certain things, but worry in a situation as dramatic and as traumatic as this pandemic has been, I'm a worrier, and I need to turn that into more of a warrior. Because I worry. I try to figure out things, solve things. And the biggest lesson that I can take from this entire situation is that I need to work harder at strengthening my faith, strengthening my my spending more time in my faith and in the Word of God, and making sure that I have that in my reserve so that when I have to lean on something, it will be that, and I could be assured instead of worrying so much.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I just have 2 more questions for y'all. This is going to be the fastest interview I ever done. So I'm really trying. Not to elaborate, but do you all have any additional stories about your experience with COVID that you would like to share that has impacted you?
Yes, we do. So, interestingly enough, in a lot of ways, COVID brought us together. So we had met, we have a mutual friend, a couple that are our mutual friends that introduced us at the end of 2018. And then we just, never connected, never, made any contact or anything like that. We met at like a Christmas party. And then we saw each other again at the beginning in January of 2020, before any pandemic was really known or anything. And when I saw him, and we were at these mutual friends' home again, and it just, timing to me worked out. And shortly thereafter, we connected. They made sure that we connected afterwards, and we went on our first date in January of 2020. Oh, wow. And then we continued to date. We had a series of dates, and then the pandemic happened and the shutdown happened. Well, I knew that he was managing a grocery store and he was deemed essential. I was scared out of my mind about the pandemic. And so, not knowing what it was, it was still uncertainty on how it was spreading. And so I could be at home by myself, unbothered to a certain degree. So I was like, I'm staying home. I'm not going out. And he and I would talk on the phone. We were talking on the phone the whole time. And then we kind of just hit this wall, because talking on the phone with someone feels too much like you're in a long distance relationship and you're never seeing them. So speaking of faith, I prayed about it and we had a talk. And then finally we said, okay, we're going to try to see each other in person. So we sat out on the porch trying to sit 6 feet apart. And and the thing that, one of the reasons I wanted to tell our story was because everything that I needed, he was the essential worker. He was the one putting himself in danger every day and exposing himself to a deadly virus while I was at home. But he did everything he could to make me feel comfortable. And I thank God for seeing it that way, because eventually I just prayed about it. I said, you know what, the only way that we're going to have a relationship is if we see each other. And so we started seeing each other where we would, visit and be able to, interact in person. And he met my parents like maybe in that July. And then things just kept rolling. We just spent so much time together because we didn't have a whole lot of distractions, because we were still somewhat in lockdown.
There wasn't nothing else to do.
It was nothing else to do.
Nowhere to go.
Exactly. And we didn't have the distractions of a busy life. And so we were getting to really know each other and just fell in love during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And So much so that he asked me to marry him in July. So
2020, July 2020?
July of 2021.
2021. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So essentially, our relationship is the same age as the pandemic.
Yes.
They started at the same time.
Yep.
Wow.
That's so true. So we're getting married. Hopefully, if we're not going to have a wedding if it's going to be unsafe and unhealthy, but we're getting married in June of 2022, June 3rd of 2022 here in Charlotte. And so I wanted us to be able to participate because while the pandemic has been horrific, it has ravaged the world. However, we have a story that I believe sheds a little bit of hope, a little bit of light, and some love. So,
oh, thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad that you. That was beautiful.
It's not
wow.
Yeah,
COVID love story. So, as we move forward, we'll be doing exhibitions and things like that. And this is so unique. I think I might have to contact y'all to see if you all want to be a part of that. For sure. Like, we're also going to do a segment on Bounce TV. So I don't know if you would be interested in telling your story there, possibly, as we introduce the project, but I would love to have you there. I think that's wonderful. Black love in a pandemic. Okay.
That's right. Yes.
That's how it happened.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I promise y'all I'm going to get y'all off. I forgot to ask, Nichelle, what is your date of birth and then Brandon's date of birth?
My date of birth is 10/11/1982.
Okay.
I'm 3/18/83.
83. Got it. Okay. That's wonderful, y'all.
Thank you so much. And we'll, as long as our schedules could accommodate, we'll help out however we can.
Okay, perfect. If you all could share any additional pictures, like I said, this will be archived for generations to come. So like 200 years down the line, people should be able to research like just normal people during pandemic, what happened. And so I think y'all's story would be wonderful for people to read. So yeah.
Absolutely. We'll send over some pictures to include.
Okay. Cool beans. Well, I think that was the quickest interview I ever done. I appreciate y'all. But that was good. Wow.
We got you what you needed.
Yeah, you really did. Thank you. I'm so excited to tell everybody about this at our meeting.
Well, good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.